Diddy's team now wants to see the names. He wants the names to be named. Every victim, every witness, all of that. So they want a Franks hearing. Take notice that upon declaration of Tony Geragos, dated February 18th, the exhibits attached here to accompanying the memo of law, Diddy, by and through his lawyers, will move to this court at the United States Courthouse at a date and time to be determined for the court for an order suppressing the evidence and all fruits obtained from the following search warrants. Now, when you suppress evidence in criminal law, that means if there was a problem with a search and seizure of a property or evidence, it falls under this umbrella. There's this doctrine called fruit of the poisonous tree, right? You have a poisonous tree. If anything comes from that tree, any fruits from it, like a poisoned apple or whatever from this poisoned apple tree, all of it is tainted because the way that you obtain that evidence was not done properly or according to procedure. Now, in law school, I really enjoyed criminal procedure. There were two classes that I took. I took crim law, which is your basics of criminal law, and then criminal procedure, which is your concepts like fruit of the poisonous tree, stop and frisk, how police stop people, how police knock and announce and get items or things included in the search warrant. Look at ASAP Rocky and ASAP Relly. When they went into Rocky's house, although we saw all these junky things, we saw a nutcracker, we saw pictures of all this stuff, but those things were not to be taken as evidence. They were there solely to find a firearm, any ammunition, things that are related to a firearm. Sometimes you have things in plain view. If you've got your weed or your drugs out, it's in plain view, then something like that is something that police officers can confiscate if there's only one thing on search warrants and things of the like. Now, fruit of the poisonous tree. I'm hearing that Diddy really wants to keep his phone. All the tea, guys. His phone. What did he have on his phone? He is really concerned about pieces of evidence that were extracted from his phone. Everybody is talking about this rumor. And right now it's strictly a rumor of Diddy tapes that, as a plot of extortion, that Diddy might have tapes of people. Who's on the tapes? Are they afraid that it's going to get out? People are leaving the country. I don't know. We're going to check this out. I'm very curious. I find this case to be fascinating. And I'm going in this raw dog. Everybody's like, have you seen the documentary yet? Put a one in the chat if you've seen the Diddy documentaries and let me know which one. If you have not seen the Diddy documentaries, put a 2 in the chat. Doesn't mean you're biased or anything. I have not seen them because I want to go in with fresh eyes. Have you guys seen the documentaries? Pretty Esquire says one. Destin hasn't seen them yet. Gigi hasn't seen them yet. SWAT hasn't seen them yet. Paulette has not seen them yet. And Diana, a lot of you guys have not seen them yet. Chaka T, good to see you, has not seen them yet. The Fall of Diddy is the best one. Pretty Esquire says. Petty Pendergrass has not seen them. Breezy, yeah, baby, has not seen them. Nans. Kiki, not yet. Thank you so much. Kiki like Siri. Kiri like Siri. Sorry, my eyes. I'm getting old eyes. I saw the full Breakfast Club Takapita interview this morning drop, but I have not had an opportunity to review it yet. I'll probably do like a short video. And if I need to do a reaction, I'll share that with y'all. But shout out to Wilson, says getting my info for you and lead attorney or from us. Yeah, we good. Kiri like Siri. I got it, Kiri. But yeah, so that's the thing. This is going to start heating up. And I just want to start like really rocking with you guys a little bit harder with these legal docs. I know sometimes they're boring and they're dry. I'm going to try to cut out the fluff and get to the heart of these documents. Like, like a little swordswoman, like Arya Stark, like, like just, cutting through it to get you the stuff because it's going to start dropping more and more and more. Luckily, I'm plugged into the New York legal system now, so I can like start downloading documents and all that for you guys because they're starting to pile up. And they're going to pile up fast leading up to these next 8 weeks. So while we don't have eyes in the courtroom, we got eyes on the docs. for sure. For sure. Anyway, long-winded way of talking about the fruit of the poisonous tree. Now let's see what the Diddy team is trying to get out of these. They want to suppress the evidence and all the fruits obtained from these search warrants. It includes a number of things. The first one, the January 4th, 24 warrant to search Diddy's iCloud accounts. Because remember, guys, the raid happened in March of last year. So well before the feds had a warrant to search Diddy's phone. They were all up in Diddy's phone, fishing, looking at things, and they were trying to see what they could find from his iCloud account. Now, this is why we have to be very careful with our phones. And I'm not telling you to hide evidence or whatever the case may be, but these are just not safe. Like nothing you have in here. Look at Relly. Relly deleted text. They got found. Like nothing in your phone is safe. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. So you have that. So there are 2 search warrants. One was from January 4th. Okay. Hang on. I think I got this little drawing tool. Yeah, January 4th. Oh, that's ugly. Whatever. Can we highlight it? We can highlight it. Yeah, I don't like that. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so January 4th is the first one. Then the second one is March 22nd. So January 4th, March 22nd, these are the search warrants that were issued. The March 22nd warrant was to search his LA house and to seize any evidence therein. All right, so that's the second one. The third one, March 22nd, to search his Miami house and seize any evidence therein. March 25th, to search his person. His person means him. Diddy, we're going to search your phones on January 4th. On the 22nd, we're going to hit your LA house and then your Miami house. And then on the 25th, 3 days later, we're going to search you, like your body. What do you have? And to seize and search 2 of your cell phones, referred to by the government as Combs number 1 and Combs number 2, and extract information from those phones. September 16th, this is your 5th one, a warrant to search his person again and to seize and search additional 2 of his cellular phones, referred to by the government as Combs number 3 and Combs number 4, and to extract information from those phones. And then on September 16th, a warrant to search Combs' room at the Park Hyatt Hotel and seize evidence obtained therein. Or 2, the alternative, granting a Franks hearing. All right, so there's a lot to unpack there. So you got the initial view at one of his iCloud accounts in January. Then you have the 2 raids in March, Miami, and then you have the LA home. Then after that, you pick Diddy up. You search Diddy himself, right? And then you have 2 phones that he had then. Remember, Diddy didn't go to jail and get booked until September of 2024. And in that, he had 2 additional phones. So now you're looking at 4 phones altogether that Diddy had. This ain't even 2 phones, it's 4. Now, September 16th, I believe, is the day he got arrested, and he was staying at the Park Hyatt Hotel, which I'm like, Diddy, you staying at the Hyatt? In the words of A$AP Rocky, is that a bum-ass hotel? I don't know. He's staying at the Hyatt. He was staying at the Hyatt. Bum-ass hotel, I think. I don't know. I think Hyatts are nice. And the alternative, they can get a Franks hearing. And we'll talk about a Franks hearing in a second. So there's that. That was filed last night. Right? Next. In addition to that, this is their memo. It's a little bit longer. This is supporting their memo to suppress evidence because of these search warrants. And they're asking for a Franks hearing. So they kind of go through what their argument is. They go through the facts. I'll go through the facts for y'all. But their argument is centered on two main things. One, the government's warrants the government's warrant applications contain intentional or reckless deceptive statements and omissions. So Diddy is like, y'all lied in your warrants. You lied. You lied on me. Can't stop, won't stop. You lied on me. Two, the warrants were unconstitutionally broad. And this is my prediction for this as we continue. I think that Diddy's team is going to use constitutional rights as much as possible in their defense. We saw some Fourth Amendment issues. We saw some Eighth Amendment issues come up recently. But now, as this case is heating up, we're going to see a lot more, a ton more, because they're really going to look at his rights being violated. That's the heart of criminal procedure. Were the warrants, good? Were the searches good? Things of the like. So let's just kind of backpedal here. When they say the applications contain deceptive statements, what are they talking about? They're saying that the warrants may not omit critical exculpatory evidence, so things that would clear him. That's not in the warrants. The government's warrants applications hid critical evidence regarding victim one's consent and financial motive. Well, Cassie, we talked about that one. I remember that. They were saying that they ended up finding videos of Cassie and Diddy together. And I believe it was on Cassie's phone. And she was like, they say she was complicit in this. I don't know, but we'll read it. We'll keep an open mind. Next, the government's warrant applications hid exculpatory evidence regarding the credibility of other witnesses. So there are others. The misstatements and omissions were material. So they left these things out of their search warrants, but the defense team is saying that they were material facts that should have been included. When it says the warrants were unconstitutionally broad, the Fourth Amendment forbids general warrants, so they need to be very specific. And the warrants obtained by the government in this case were virtually limitless. So there were no limits or guardrails on them. And then lastly, they have their conclusion. So super fascinating document so far. That's your table of contents, table of authorities. These are all the cases they use. I'm going to try to breeze through this one, guys, and then we're going to get to some Fonnie Willis news. The government has a duty of candor when it seeks warrants. The nature of proceeding mandates secrecy, so the process is not adversarial. Precisely for that reason, investigators have an obligation to present a fair picture of the evidence, including inculpatory and exculpatory facts. While investigators need not present a magistrate with every bit of evidence they have discovered, they must nonetheless include a reasonably even-handed account. And they cannot omit critical exculpatory facts that might undermine a finding of probable cause. The government in this case utterly failed to do so. It sought several warrants to search Mr. Combs' residences, his electronic devices, and his person, and it presented a grossly distorted picture of the facts. It included only inculpatory facts, and it excluded any critical exculpatory facts that was indisputably in its possession at the time. This is a big deal. And my understanding is that this document is extremely, guys, redacted. You see these big blocks on the screen? I did not do that. The government did. The government did. I kid you not, I went into the federal site that we use to pull documents. Federal cases, because this is a federal case, but also state-wise. As attorneys, you can go to another state and pull documents. I was able to do that with Rocky today and some other cases that I'm working on, looking at some of the Massachusetts cases. Was able to go and look for that. And I was surprised. that this is a 30-page document. Almost every page is like this. And that is the nature of the crimes that are described here. Trafficking, they want to protect the victims, things like that. We're also hearing that there is victim 3 and 4 included in here. So those names are, they're also redacted and covered right now. But Diddy's team last week, and I did TikTok on this. If you don't follow me on TikTok, follow us at AV7 Legal. When I try to do quick things through the week, that's where I'll post it. But I did see a 1-page filing, and we posted about it on TikTok, where Diddy's team now wants to see the names. He wants the names to be named. Every victim, every witness, all of that. Pretty standard in trials. You get a witness list leading up to trial, so the attorneys can prepare for who those witnesses are and how they're going to question them, and any discovery related to those victims or witnesses that are going to be on the stand. We'll see. I mean, Cassie is expecting again. She's expecting, I believe, her 3rd child. So I don't know if she's going to testify in this case. Either way, we're not going to be able to see it because it's not going to be It's not going to be, televised. So that sucks. But let's keep going. So the government claimed victims were coerced into sex, but it failed to inform the magistrate that, see this, we don't know what the rest of the sentence says. It also failed to inform the magistrate that it possessed text messages between alleged victims and Diddy, blank, blank, blank. The applications were intentionally misleading, which at minimum requires a Franks hearing. The warrants themselves were also grossly overbroad, on the theory that Diddy's entire life was a criminal enterprise. The government sought virtually limitless authority to seize any evidence related to that enterprise. All his digital devices and the information they contained, all information on his iCloud accounts, plus troves of records and items in his houses, almost none of which was contraband. Where Judge Nathan found similar warrants unconstitutional, here the government obtained authority to rummage at will among Diddy's private effects. They cited 2009 case. Perhaps most troublingly, the government received essential limitless authority to search Diddy's digital devices, which contained a vast trove of personal information. Oof. The Supreme Court and Second Circuit have repeatedly warned that it is especially important that digital device searches must be limited and particularized. The warrants here were not. Damn, they got access to everything in his phone. Imagine having access to everything in Diddy's phone, like all of it, like, oh. And it's not just one phone. It's 2 phones, 3 phones, 4 phones, 4 of Diddy's phones they had access. Ooh, imagine what was in there. What do y'all think were in there? What was in, what do you think would be found in a Diddy, just one Diddy phone? It would be a lot. Shout out to Trucker T Brooklyn, giving out memberships to the community, the Chatterhood. Koch brothers got a membership. Susie Q got a membership. Elliot got a membership. Nana got a membership. Keita G got a membership. Chi-Town, Petty Pendergrass probably cutting up. I can't even see it. I don't even know what would be in a Diddy phone, but I wouldn't be excited to have to review that. Freedom says Meek Mill screaming for more. Oh my God. Oh, shenanigans. Factual background. During its investigation, the government executed numerous search warrants. We got the January 4th one, March 22nd, LA, and then Miami. Both applications were on substantially identical affidavits sworn by SHI Special Agent Sean Quinn. 3 days later, the government obtained an additional search warrant to search Diddy himself, his person, and to seize and search 2 of his cell phones. The warrant sought to obtain evidence related to possible crimes of racketeering, sex trafficking, and obstruction of justice. The list of items to be seized at the residences was incredibly broad, spanning pages, including, among other categories, all digital devices within the residences. So this is interesting because, like we said, with Rockies, it was like gun and anything related to a gun. That's all you can go and search for. Whereas in Diddy's house, it's like all of it. Everything in there. Whatever's electronic, go get it. Whatever looks like it might be slippery and has baby oil, go get it. Get all of it. So that's what they mean when they say overbroad. It's not specific enough. It's not specific enough. The list of information to be obtained from the devices was similarly broad. As detailed below, the warrant applications presented a grossly distorted picture of reality. The government had in its possession, for example, a variety of evidence, including, I bet you behind this block it says baby oil. But it also says, suggesting victim one's participation in the alleged freak-offs was voluntary and consensual, not coerced as the government suggested in its applications. Oh! I know what this is. That first block, we can insinuate that those were the Cassie videos, this first black block, suggesting victim one's participation in the alleged freak-offs is voluntary and consensual. If that was the iCloud account search warrant, that's probably where the videos came from. Interesting. Okay, so they're hiding more from us. The government claims blank was based primarily on statements from producer one, an utterly unreliable witness whose claims were contradicted by other evidence that the government failed to mention. So they have proof that somebody lied as a witness. And the government's obstruction allegations were based largely on text and statements taken out of context. A crucial part of the context being that it's hard to put it together when they blank everything. The affiant also failed to mention that nearly every witness he interviewed had blank, 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 giving them a financial motive to fabricate or embellish. I wonder if they're going to bring Tony Busby into all this. The probable cause statements were intentionally misleading, but it worked. The government got its warrants, leaked damaging information. Well, here's where they lost me. Leaked damaging information. We saw the Cassie video. I mean, we saw it. We saw the tape. And yes, the government probably leaked that. And then executed its military-style raids at Diddy's houses. Through its duplicity, the government obtained evidence and included multiple electronic devices with an enormous amount of information about his entire life, an enormous and unfair tactical advantage. It continues to press its advantage, obtaining an indictment and multiple additional warrants, which were also incredibly broad. This document's already stressing me out. We might have to skip some of this fluff. It says the government's warrant applications contain intentionally or recklessly deceptive statements and omissions, starting by saying warrant applications may not omit critical exculpatory evidence. You're not supposed to leave it out. And so there's probably a ton of case law as suspected here. Okay, they're giving us the rule of law as well. I want to know what the government did, but they're giving us that. Next, the government's warrant applications hid critical evidence regarding victim one's consent and financial motive. This is about Cassie. The core allegation in warrant applications and indeed the government's entire case is that Combs forced victim one to participate in freak-offs. In its March warrant applications to search the house, it stated blah, blah, blah. That was in the warrant. This statement was based on the investigator's interview with victim one, which took place 5 years after the events. But the government unaccountably failed to inform the magistrate, blah, blah, blah. That's probably exculpatory information, both of which severely undermined its account. When it sought the warrants to search Diddy's houses, the government had already obtained one device from Cassie, or victim one, that contained, look at all this. Look at all that they just hid from us. What are we supposed to do with this? Come on. What the hell is this? And thank y'all for getting my likes right. It's 500 people watching here, 600 likes. Thank you. What am I can't even interpret this for y'all. If we can't watch a trial, look at this. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Diddy's team, they're on to something. What is this? Straight blocks. The government did not, in the warrant applications, or even inform the magistrate blank. Faced with the claim of coerced and forced sex, the blank is the sort of thing that any fact finder would wish to know. By the time it obtained warrants to search Diddy's residences, the government had already obtained. Look at it again. Why? I want to know what's going on. They don't want us to know anything, Chiba. Nothing. And this document's coming from Diddy's side. Imagine what the government's documents look like. The whole joint just gonna be blocked up like this, like the whole thing. Oh, there's an exhibit 10. We probably don't have access to that. Look at this next page. Exhibit 11. Look at this. Oh my God. This is like a whole page. Why did you even put this online? Wow. The government alleged, but failed to mention. The government alleged, but failed to mention. Like what? How am I supposed to read your arguments? More generally, even as their relationship deteriorated and the two managed a breakup, this sounds like I can't even read. Exhibit 23, Exhibit 24. What the hell? And then it's like you cannot even determine what the argument's going to be because it's just blacked out. They are important evidence. They show the context of the relationship, and they also blank. I mean, I don't know, guys. I don't know how we do this. They are the kind of thing that any magistrate judge would wish to know when reviewing a warrant application in a sex trafficking case. Yet the warrant applications cannot even hint, they did not contain a hint of them. They did not even inform the magistrate judge this evidence existed. They simply stated that, well, I don't know what it is. This was intentionally misleading. Oh, really? Blank contradicted victim one's later accounts and gave the investigator obvious reasons to doubt the veracity of the allegations. Interesting. Look at this next one. Here it is again. Look at this. Like, blank contradict the applications in other ways too. The application said 10 sentences that we can't read. The warrant also claimed blank. Once again, the government hid evidence to the contrary. For example, why would you leave that? For example, we can't read it. You can't read it. It says, for example, just blank. Okay, maybe some here in the footnotes. We have a little bit of tea. It says blank is a male escort service. As the motion to dismiss count 3 details, the service has been operating in the open for over a decade. Ooh. I didn't know male escort services exist. Is this a thing? This document is probably crazy damaging. As the government has since conceded in its disclosure letters, I mean, this is embarrassing to read to y'all at this point. The government hid evidence that Diddy at time discouraged blank from using so many drugs. Oh, who are you trying to tell to stop? Finally, the warrant contains no mention of victim one's financial motive to exaggerate and falsify, as the government knew. Look at all this. It looks like a flag. Thus provided an unusually strong motive to fabricate years of the underlying events. Blank suggests that years after her relationship, she changed her story in a way that would cause maximum potential damage to Diddy and thus gave him maximum incentive to agree to a large payment. This is exactly the sort of evidence that goes directly to the credibility of the witness, whose story provided the core of the government's applications. As courts around the country have held, evidence that undermines the credibility of a key witness must be revealed because a magistrate judge must be given the opportunity to assess the totality of the circumstances. Here, rather than reviewing the magistrate affair summary, the government hid exculpatory evidence to bolster its case. The warrant applications were calculated to mislead, omitting clearly critical evidence. So that second argument is interesting because all of it we cannot see. It was just all like blocked out. But it seems to have something to do with Cassie and her account of the story. So, and some things that the evidence or the government not only left out, but just did not put in the warrant application. Because when you get a search warrant, it gets put in front of a judge, or when you apply for one, the judge can approve or deny it, but you have to put information and evidence on both sides to lead a judge to believe that you have probable cause to search a home, a residence, somebody's phone, things of the like. What are those facts that lead up to having a judge approve that or not? Crazy. I just can't believe how much they blocked. The government's warrant applications, here's more blocks, hid critical evidence regarding credibility of other witnesses. The government also sought to corroborate victim one's allegations and make related allegations with statements from other witnesses and victims. Again, the government hid evidence undermining these witnesses' credibility and presenting misleading and selective accounts. We are not dealing here with omission of a few ancillary facts. This is a case of systematic deception. Sex worker one. The government relied on the information from sex worker one, who we know nothing about in the rest of the sentence. But sex worker one was also given has also given the government exculpatory information, none of which was included in the warrant applications. In its December 24th discovery letter, for example, the government revealed that, more blocks, these statements from a participant in the freak-offs undermine the allegations. We don't even know who participated in the damn freak-offs. And they corroborate, can't see the rest of it. It is unclear when the government received this information. The government has only stated, can't see the rest of that sentence, something any investigator would have asked. It is also clear that the other exculpatory statements sex worker one made about no tea, they just don't want to give it to us. That is precisely why Frank's hearing is required, to learn more about what the government knew and when. Moreover, if the government was not aware of covering up more tea, it could have been aware it asked. Given the government's loose relationship with the truth throughout its warrant applications, the obvious inference is that the government was already aware of sex worker one's exculpatory statements, but simply failed to include them in the applications. It did exactly what the Second Circuit forbids, merely informing the judge of inculpatory evidence. You got to do both. Now, we know about sex worker one. We don't know much because of all this that they're hiding. Let's go to assistant one, which is likely KK. The warrant applications relied on information about assistant one, including, we don't know much. The application said assistant one, they're not going to tell us. As with victim one, the applications failed to disclose that, they're not going to tell us. But the applications were particularly misleading in their recounting of supposed obstruction of justice. They stated that Diddy had obstructed justice by blah, blah, blah. Look at that. I feel like, when people, if you're swearing, do you remember the censor button from like the 90s when you're watching TV and all of a sudden it's like, beep, like, all of a sudden, blah, 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 beep. Like, that's what I feel this document is doing. It's just, we can't see anything. But the government cherry picked a couple of statements out of context to imply beep. But the complete and tread demonstrates the opposites. Beep, 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 beep. Like, look at the page. Look at the page. This is not harassing or threatening exchange. It was rather beep. Does not remotely make out the probable cause for the act of obstruction. But the government plucked a few quotes out of context and thus presented the magistrate judge with a completely distorted picture of what happened. This distortion cannot have been accidental. It was a deliberate choice. All right, so that has to do with KK, that whole section. Now we're going to talk about producer one. I wonder if this is Little Rod. Yeah, it sounds like Little Rod. It says some of the most salacious allegations recounted in the warrant applications come from producer one, who gave the government now says it will not even call to testify at trial. The investigator indicated he had interviewed producer one, and producer one had relayed stories about his time working for Diddy. Producer one claimed, among other things, that beep. But the most serious and specific allegation from producer one was his claim that beep. The applications state beep, 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 beep. These accusations were never credible. They were uncorroborated. Beep. And the government had boatloads of contrary evidence, including beep. Like, what the hell? The government actually dropped these allegations in later warrants, but their lack of credibility was manifest from the outset. And the government once again failed to disclose producer one's financial incentives to fabricate and embellish. Producer one, beep, 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 beep. Nothing on page 14. Beep. The government has advised us it will not call producer one, Little Rod, as a witness at Diddy's trial. Presumably, that is because his stories were fantastical and he lacks any credibility. But his lack of credibility was equally apparent in March 24th, in part based on beep. I'm guessing that is Little Rod's, like, when he filed his lawsuit. Because Lead and I read a lot of Little Rod stuff last year around that time. At a minimum, the warrant application should have disclosed beep, namely his motive to fabricate and tell a government story that matches the stories beep. I cannot. Once again, the government hid this from the magistrate. The investigator simply relied on producer one's claims without qualification, as if he were a credible witness. Now, look at this next part, guys. Victim two. The whole joint is just blocked. The whole thing. You know nothing about victim two. The whole thing. The whole thing is blocked. Now we get a victim three. This is new. The affidavits allege, based on interviews with victim three, that Diddy boop, like boop, 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 bleep. The relevance of these allegations is less clear. The claims about victim three appear under the header beep. In any event, the warrant applications once again exclude information. Look at all this. Victim four. This is a victim four. The warrant applications included allegations that victim four, beep. The government made no effort to corroborate victim four's claims. If it had conducted a reasonably competent investigation, it would have obtained evidence contradicting her account, including, I think this is the lady that is involved with Jay-Z, or at least did that. The applications failed to note that I cannot. Designer one. The warrant applications also included allegations from designer one. I wonder who that is. The government also claimed that a representative of Diddy engaged in obstruction when beep. The applications failed to note that the context of, like, all of this is just hidden. So just skipping ahead here. Wait. Misstatements and omissions were material. I'm just gonna skip ahead, y'all. Like I'm just they're hiding too much. talked about the warrants being constitutionally broad. The Fourth Amendment forbids general warrants. There's some case law to support that argument. I'm going to skip all that. The warrants obtained by the government in this case were virtually limitless. They were able to get evidence of Diddy's location, including anything that reflected the location of any co-conspirator or witness, which included, according to the government, seems to mean whoever worked with Diddy or went to a party. Damn! Well, that is big, because some people that went to these parties, I don't know. What if you went to the party and didn't do anything? But like Cat Williams told us what happens at Diddy parties. Some people can be first timers. But what this is showing us is like, they looked at the location of Diddy's phones. And to the government, it seems to mean that anyone who's ever worked for him or went to a party. They got utility bills, mail, address books, all calendars, financial records. Oh, any sex toys. Oh my God. Oh my God. Sexually suggestive clothing, medical supplies, or any materials related to sex. Plus any bodily fluid. Oh God, you got somebody's jizz? What jizz? Oh, woo. Okay, woo. Wow. Plus any bodily fluid? Who keeps that? Oh. Or other material that might contain DNA evidence. Any communication or record of communications of any former sexual partner or employee of the Combs business, plus any communication related to the charged offenses, which was, as noted, very broad, with any possible victim, co-conspirators, or witnesses. Corporate records, ownership documents, employment records, any digital device that may contain evidence, including phones, computers, iPads, and cameras. Those descriptions were written with catch-all clauses. So it just means that they could take any of the things that were on that list, including your jizz. The government warrants to search Diddy's iCloud accounts and his cell phones were similarly broad. As to what information they can take, the government may just as well said everything. Everything. The iCloud warrant sought the ability to search anything stored on the accounts. The cell phone warrants, both initially in March and in subsequent September, sought all communications, photos, documents, calendars, location data, travel records, financial records, call logs, anything related to the subject offenses. But because of the subject offenses were defined as included all of Diddy's businesses, his household, his relationship with his girlfriends over the last 20 years, it's hard to think of anything that would have been related to the subject of offenses. That's interesting. They bring up another case where they're supporting their argument. The warrants here are even more infirm. They're just more of that. Conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, this court should suppress the evidence and all the fruits obtained from the warrants to search Combs's residence, his person, his iCloud account, and his devices. These warrants were unconstitutionally broad, and the alternative, and at the minimum, this court should order a Franks hearing to hear additional evidence and determine whether the warrants were improperly obtained through deception. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I mean, to take somebody's bodily fluids, what?